Hey, this is Dave from CheapWineFinder.com again with another companion podcast for a wine we just posted on the CheapWineFinder.com website, the world famous CheapWineFinder.com website. I say that because we've been doing the website for a good 11 years now and been read in every country in the world. So we're kind of world famous. I mean, without the famous. So we're doing another Thanksgiving themed podcast. This one is for another Pinot Noir because Pinot Noir goes well with turkey and dressing and mashed potatoes and sweet potatoes and all those things. So it's a easy pairing without having to get too complicated. It just kind of works with most thing. And if someone brings a dish that doesn't quite go with the light-bodied cherry-flavored wine, well, it's got the acidity to last. And here's what we got here. It's Castle Rock Winery, Mendocino County Pinot Noir 2017. And I'll go on a little bit about who, what, where Castle Rock is. They are kind of a unique wine operation. They've been around for about 25 years, and they don't own any vineyards. They don't own any wineries. They don't have a lot of personnel on hand. They have long-term contracts with all the different grape growers they use. They will have contracts with different wineries. Most big wineries have excess space. Excess equipment. They like it that way. The money coming in on these other things help offset their cost for their own wines. So it's a win-win for everybody involved. And then they also have a bottling line that's the Castle Rock also uses. So Castle Rock has a very low overhead, and like all the cost for each individual wine they sell is kind of like contained inside of it. They have the grapes, they have the money it costs to make it in the winery and bottle it. It's all in one thing. There's no land they're paying interest on and taxes on. They're got a low overhead. And like I said, they've been doing it for a long time. And one of the interesting things they do, and they kind of concentrate on Pinot Noir, but they do other grapes too, but they will get wineries from all the leading Pinot growers. Like they'll have Paso Robles or the Central Coast, and they'll have Monterey, and they'll have Carneros, which is half Sonoma and half Napa, and they'll have Russian River. Then they'll have some Pinots from Columbia Valley, then Willamette Valley up in Oregon. So they'll have all these different single, every wine. I think they have a California Cuvée, which is a blend of different California grapes. But you get a Willamette Valley Pinot Noir for an inexpensive price. This is a Mendocino County for an inexpensive price, Russian River. And I think they have some reserve wines that cost a little more. And I think I found this at Costco for $7.99. And it's a single AVA Pinot Noir and the year is 2017, which is for a Pinot Noir is a good, especially a drink it now Pinot Noir is a good bit of aging. So this isn't, if it's a 2018 on label, that would probably mean that they made it in a drink it now, make it, come together style that comes together quickly, very little oak, very little, a lot of things make it bright and fruity. And since it's 2017, that means it's going to be in a more evolved style, maybe a little more aging. And, that's not a different, the difference between a 2017 and a 2018 isn't one's good and one's bad, but they're probably made a little bit different. And that's something to keep in mind. And this is a Monterey County Pinot Noir. And I'm going to take a sip because it was unexpected. So I'm going to take a sip and talk about it. Yeah, this is, for a $7.99 Pinot, I don't encounter this very often. Inexpensive Pinots are way better than they used to be in the last few years. I'll cover that a little later on. But the more expensive the Pinot is, the lighter the body is, the more delicate. And the flavors are kind of ethereal and whispery and ghost-like, but then they keep coming, they come coming. And so you have these light-bodied wines that just have loads of flavors, and they're, flavors everywhere. They're just, fascinating wines. And usually in the lower end, they have a little more body to them, a little more ripe fruit. I mean, they still have some things in common with expensive stuff. They can be very, very good, but you don't get these light-bodied wines for under $10. And this one is one of those light-bodied wines. Now, it doesn't have the ghostly, whispery flavors. It's got flavor, but it doesn't have the depth and the complexity of the expensive stuff. But you wouldn't expect it for $7.99. And it's like, I'm going to take another sip because I got to keep on talking about it. Yeah, it's still got the light flavors, and it's like the expensive stuff, only it just doesn't have the depth, which it wouldn't have. And that's not bad for an inexpensive wine. It's kind of a nice, tasty little wine. It's not a Meiomi, which has that full-bodied, rich flavors, but that's one thing. This is on the other spectrum. It's light, it's elegant, it's got good flavors, it's got some length to it. It's soft, it's delicate, it's subtle, and it would work for Thanksgiving. So there you go. So keep that in mind. It doesn't cost much. And, about 5 years ago, if you got a Pinot Noir, with a few exceptions, it was going to be kind of a simple cherry flavored wine, not too exciting, but, hey, cherry flavored wine isn't the worst thing. And then all of a sudden, the winemaker started figuring out that the wines of Beaujolais were made in a different style than the Pinot Noir, inexpensive Pinot Noir of California. They use carbonic maceration and open top fermentation, and don't ask me to explain all that because I'll get it wrong, but it makes the wine come together quicker. I mean, it just makes a more full, more complex wine and it's harder to make it that way. But all of a sudden, these very simple wines have complexity and some interest to it. And it's not just, it's a nice thing to drink. You don't really pay attention to it. All of a sudden, it becomes wines that you pay attention to, and they don't cost a lot of money. And there was a time when Pinot Noir was like, my least favorite value-priced wines. Red blends were always a good one because red blends accentuated the positive. They could always make it into something. And Pinot Noir was going to be kind of boring, maybe had sour taste. And nowadays, it's maybe my favorite of all the value-priced wines. I mean, there's always something interesting, and they're never the same. And wines that are really inexpensive are kind of fun to drink and satisfying and tasty and interesting. So there you go with that. This is Castle Rock. It's an elegant Pinot Noir. So it's not something you expect for the price. Like I said, it doesn't have the depth and the flavors and like the ghostly things, the ones, but it shouldn't. It's a tenth the price of the expensive wines. To expect it to be exactly the same isn't right. Just that it's good is what you're looking for. Thanksgiving, yep. And interesting company that, is doing some fun things and you want to support, yep. So there you go. Castle Rock, Mendocino County, Pinot Noir. And that's it for me. We still have more holiday wines coming up, and we have a bunch of things planned. I don't know exactly yet. We have things in mind, but there we go. So keep it cheap. We'll have a few more podcasts before Thanksgiving, and we'll do some fun things. But I'll talk to you later. Adios, and keep it cheap. Bye-bye.